Welcome back. All right, so I'm going to do something different today. Tomorrow, season 2 drops for Shoresy. I don't believe I ever did do the review for the first season. I'll just say it here. It's fantastic. Now, one thing with Shoresy is there is some colorful language in it. So it is not for people who don't like colorful language because it is throughout the series. It is a large portion of the series. But if you've heard the hot mics at ice level, hockey players tend to use kind of foul language. So if it was all cleaned up, it wouldn't feel like real hockey. And one reason that I'm a huge fan of Shoresy and I've got the Blueberry Bulldogs jersey, and I've done a lot of I do like in certain videos I'll like mention Shoresy or I'll drop a line from Shoresy and I'll see in the comments people pick up on it that I'm referencing Shoresy. Great show. Written by people who know hockey and definitely acted by people who know hockey because there's hockey players in it. And this is what I've always wanted, right? It's sort of like those disaster movies and thinking, if they used actual science for disaster movies, they make a heck of a lot more sense and they could be just as terrifying. But anyways, that's a whole other discussion for another time. So I've got some phrases at the top that's used a lot. Yeah, so, which is how Shoresy starts things and his voice will kind of trail off. It's funny because he'll want to talk and then his voice kind of trails off and they have to like encourage him to speak. And it is very entertaining. It is not a huge cast and they keep things relatively tight, which they have on Letterkenny for the most part. I think part of the reason Letterkenny the last couple seasons hasn't been as good might be just there's so many more characters and maybe they could tighten it up a bit by focusing more on the main guys. But I mean, either way, every show reaches a point where there's not many more stories to tell. And it feels like Shoresy was born out of this idea of wanting to tell a hockey story. And since the hockey players on Letterkenny got to the point where, they weren't in hockey, they're still in Letterkenny, I wouldn't mind seeing Riley and Jonesy end up on Shoresy at some point. At some point in time, for a couple episodes or, joining the cast at some point in time if they decide to move things around from Letterkenny. But Jared Keeso, of course, plays Shoresy. He also plays Wayne on Letterkenny. And as Shoresy, I buy him as being a completely different person. Sometimes with actors, they're always just themselves. Like Nick Cage. Nicolas Cage, he's a good actor, but he's always Nicolas Cage. And there's a moment where you go, there's Nick Cage. And, Brad Pitt, I love Brad Pitt as an actor, but there's moments in almost every movie he's in where you go, that's a very Brad Pitt thing to say. Now, Jonathan Diaby is in this as Dolo, as himself. Absolutely as himself. 2019, 2010, or 2020 was the last time he played in the LNAH, according to Hockey Reference, or Hockey Database. I went through Hockey Database for this. 33 penalty minutes in 28 games the last time he played. Now, penalty minutes are noteworthy because there's a lot of fighting in this. A lot of fighting in the show. Terry Ryan plays Hitch. He was a number 8 pick, famously a number 8 pick by the Habs in 1995. Has written himself a book as well, and Terry Ryan has been very talkative about his career and how things went sideways and what happened there. And he's from St. John's. So when you hear a Newfoundlander accent from him, that is 100% accurate. So if you're watching the show and you're going, I'm not sure I understand him, that's 100% accurate. I've got family in St. John's. There were times where I would talk to them and I'd think, do I ask them to repeat that? Because I'm not sure it's going to get clearer. So Terry Ryan's fantastic on this. I think he's very entertaining. I totally understand the love of chicken that his character has, and I agree with it. Andrew Ansonen. I knew I was going to mess it up. Andrew Ansonen is Goody. He played in the QMJHL in 2014-2015. 171 penalty minutes in 44 games the last time he played. The last time Terry Ryan not the last time he played, but to give an example of the penalty minutes, he had 256 penalty minutes during the 97-98 season. So again, they're all shown in this show as dropping the gloves, and they absolutely can. Max Bouffard plays JJ Frankie JJ, which is one of the best names in the history of television. He played in 2009, 2010 in the OJHL, played as a goaltender. And what makes this work, what makes this show different from a lot of the movies and TV shows that I've watched is, well, since all these guys have played hockey, you don't need to have stand-ins and stunt doubles for everything. So when you're seeing the hockey, you're not going, well, that's not actually him. This is really distracting. That's clearly a stunt double wearing that helmet and taking those shots. These guys are actually players. And Jordan Nolan, who's one of the three Jims, they're three guys, and they're just Jim. Not Jimbo, not anything else, or John Boy, or anything. They're Jim. That's just, they are Jim. And one of the funniest things in that show is that they're just Jim. Jordan Nolan, 375 NHL games for him, 347 penalty minutes. So a little behind the other guys when it comes to penalty minutes, other than JJ Frankie JJ, who, as a goaltender, I didn't see any penalty minutes there. One headliner for people who may have watched the show, The 100, Tazia Tellis, who plays Nat on the show. She was Echo on The 100. So there are a lot of other supporting characters in here. You've got Michaels, who starts out as the coach, ends up as the goaltender. Sanguinet, who I think is a character who has maybe the best arc in the first season, that he kind of starts out as just a nobody and he's a healthy scratch. By the end, he is the commanding coach of the team, and he does evolve, and he does kind of become that coach. And has himself a little bit of a girlfriend by the end of that first season, too, so good on him for that. Meeg and Zieg are funny. They're the assistants to Nat's character, and there are a lot of scenes where everybody's going back and forth. There's a lot of quirky, quippy dialogue because it's written by Jared Kiso. He is a big fan of that kind of dialogue, that fast back and forth. If you've never seen Wayne and Derry talking to the hockey players, which was in, I think it was just the first episode of Letterkenny, which is a short that they actually did on YouTube. And that's one of the reasons that I love this, is they started out on YouTube. And it's a Canadian YouTube channel that made something of themselves and now has 2 different TV shows. Same production for both shows, and awesome. And I would like to see some kind of crossing between the 2 shows at some point. 2 episodes release here in Canada tomorrow on Crave. 1 episode will release each week. So on the 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th. One thing this show has going for it too, there are 6 episodes for each season. And the episodes are roughly 20 to 25 minutes each. So it does not take a ridiculous amount of time. You don't have to worry about a multiverse. You don't have to worry about watching a bunch of stuff ahead of time. You don't even have to watch Letterkenny. This show makes it so that it is completely its own thing. They do mention Letterkenny briefly at points during the first season, but you don't have to have watched Letterkenny to understand the jokes. I think that some of the referee comments that Jared Kiso as Shoresy makes are absolutely hilarious. And it just, again, if you don't mind some foul language, I think Shoresy is an absolutely excellent show. The brawls are, I mean, they're there, but they're so over the top and arcadey, for lack of a better term, that you don't really feel like you're watching like this really violent graphic. There's no blood in it. So that's one thing, is there's no blood in it. So when there's a big fight at the nightclub, there's nothing there either. And it's funny because at the start, you can see like the nightclub kind of pushes around Sanguinet, and Shoresy deals with it himself. But the next time they go back, all these guys are with him. So that really changes things when somebody in the bar tries to, tell them what they can do or can't do. And I thought, that's very Canadian. It's very, very Canadian. To have these people in Sudbury hanging out at a bar, and when they go out behind the bar, there's a bunch of guys fighting outside. Clearly have had a few drinks, and I'm like, yeah, that's a bar in Canada. That's about how that works. So it is. I think it's very true to Canadians. I think it's very true to hockey, and it's great. And I think it will definitely, on some level, it has to increase at least some interest in senior hockey if you have senior hockey in your town. Because I think it's out of Ontario is where the senior hockey league that's at least got some recognition is. But the No Show is a lot of fun to watch. And I'm looking forward to season 2 and seeing what happens. Because Nat said if they lose a game, that's it. The team's going to fold. And then they lost a game at the end of the season. So season 2 clearly states that we are going to have more Sudbury Blueberry Bulldogs hockey, and I'm here for it. I think it's going to be great. And there were some things that were left unresolved at the end of last season, but still, it's a fun show. And I only say that because I do complain about how everything feels like a soap opera on TV now. Everything is, you have to watch every single episode, and there is some of that with this, but it's only 6 episodes, so it's quick. And it's quick, it's painless, it's funny, and you could watch all of it in a day. So, anyways, I can't say enough good things about it. It is a fantastic show. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend you check it out. If you have, let me know what you thought in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.